Okay. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to this live interview um on the Minds Panel show. Tonight on the panel, my co-host, Gov Spiders. We also have Kevin. I'm your host, Tech Lords, and tonight we have a second interview with eijah, the creator of Demonsaw. So, eijah has a background in game programming, such as he was one of the lead programmers for Grand Theft Auto 5. So he's got quite a bit of experience in programming, and now he coded Demonsaw, which is absolutely incredible technology for privacy. So let us welcome eijah to our show. Hello, eijah.
Hello, thank you guys for having me back on.
Well, the pleasure is all ours. Listen, eijah, for those who are listening for the first time, who are listening to you for the first time, and don't know what Demonsaw is, could you give us in a nutshell what Demonsaw is and what it does?
Sure, it's basically what Demonsaw is it's halfway between a secure private cloud and a secure VPN. So it is a secure and anonymous way that you can share whatever you want and communicate whatever you want with anybody else. And what's unique about it is it's not centralized and it's not peer-to-peer. So it takes a very unique hybrid network topology model, very, very similar to the foundational network layer of the internet, the lower layers of the OSI stack. So really what you can do is you can define how you build out your network, whether you choose to use a public or a private network, and you even define the type of encryption and the number of layers of crypto that will protect your data however you need to protect it. So if you're sharing cat pics or you're sharing top secret NSA documents, you can layer the security and you can adjust the overall security levels as you see fit. And what's totally unique about it is I've created it by myself and I've given it away for free. It's on multiple platforms and there's no ads. I have zero revenue model. I have zero plans to monetize it. I basically created something that was 100% free for you to have and use however you want without any strings attached. And I don't even have a donate button on my site. So it had absolutely zero goals of raising money, and that's exactly the way I wanted it to be.
This is really, really nice. I've been using Demonsaw for a while now, and I really, really like it. And been improving from version to version, and it's really, really nice. I'd like to know. I'm going to ask one more question, then I'll leave the floor to Gov Spiders because I know he has questions as well. What's the future of Demonsaw? I mean, we have version almost 3.1 right now. We're in the beta stage, but what's in store for Demonsaw in the next few versions, in a nutshell?
Oh, that's a great question. So as a lot of your listeners will know, is I'm the only one who's ever written code for Demonsaw. So it was my idea that I had while making GTA 5. I've been working on it mostly part-time for the past 3 years. Just the last 9 months I've been full-time on it since I quit Rockstar Games. But it's been a labor of love that at times has gone slow and at times has gone really, really fast. So I don't get it iterated as quickly as I would like, although I'm pretty fast at features. So right now with 3.1, we're on beta 2 of 3.1. 3.1 is really what I wanted 3.0 to be, but I ran out of time. As you guys know, I rewrote all of Demonsaw in the last 6 months before DEF CON 24, and it took me only about 5.5 to 6 months to totally rewrite it. I did that for a variety of reasons, mostly better security, better scalability, better performance. But that was a very intense timeline, and so I didn't get everything done to the extent I wanted. So 3.1, even 3.2 is the last remaining features that I wanted to give to you in 3.0. Some of those are a queuing mechanism for transfers, a build on OS 10, headless client, being able to release the command line router, things like folder download, and a lot of bug fixes. over the last 2-3 weeks since DEF CON, I stabilized the router, I stabilized most of the client, and so fewer crashes, a lot of tweaks in performance. Really, it's just really all of the things I wanted to do. But it's better to launch a version and iterate for the next 2 to 3 to 4 weeks and fix what you're not happy with than to delay for a month. A lot of people don't understand that. They'd rather have a perfect product. Well, there is no such thing, right? I'd rather give you something that works, can meet your needs, that's better than Demonsaw 2.7, and then come back to you and say, I'm sorry, I'm going to fix it, I swear, just give me 2-3 more weeks. And that's what I did with launching 3.0, and that's where we're at with 3.1.
Very good, very good. Now I'd like to leave the floor to Gov Spiders, my co-host. I know I'm positive he has questions for you. So Gov, you have the floor.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm going to try not to get too far ahead of myself immediately. But I guess my first question is really about the fall of the giants that is the torrent community has happened, and how has the networking effect from that, the giant tidal wave, affected Demonsaw? How far has the entire project been flung forward by all of this energy that's being put into this new platform for people to share things?
Well, that's a really, really good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question, at least not that exact angle. It's been amazing, and I think the future is going to be a much brighter place in terms of guaranteeing our privacy for sharing whatever we want, whenever we want, with whomever we want. The torrents have their place still. I mean, there's no denying it. And the last thing I want anyone to think is that I hate torrents. I don't. In fact, I did not create Demonsaw to destroy torrents. I created Demonsaw to destroy Dropbox, but we could talk about that later. It just happened to also be a very, very good file sharing program. The problem with torrents has always been really two things. Number one is you require a tracker. There needs to be some centralization for tracking the torrents and tracking who has what, so that you know what seeds are out there, etc. So you have to have these what I call these centralized authorities, these centralized online databases that track these files and who has them. And number two is the lack of anonymity. Peer-to-peer is a great technology, but the problem with peer-to-peer is the peer part. It's that my IP is revealed, your IP is revealed. So if we had a technology that could circumvent both of those or overcome both of those shortcomings, then it's definitely something that we should look into. And I believe that Demonsaw is, maybe right now it's not a replacement for torrents, and maybe it will never be a replacement for torrents, but I think it's well underway for providing an option, a torrent option, an alternative for people who are frustrated with the torrent networks, or with torrents in general, with the lack of anonymity, with some of the draconian, over-aggressive stance that governments have taken. Torrenting is not about illegally sharing files. Torrenting is a technology and a protocol and a methodology by which we can efficiently share and swarm files across many, many different seeds to anybody in a very reliable, fast, decentralized method. It just happens over the years to have created this bad name for itself because some people do use it for sharing illegal content. But there are many, many valid and legal use cases for torrents. The important thing, though, is that we as individuals have an option that allows us to accomplish a very, very similar thing as what we accomplished with torrents, without having the same negative side effects that we get with requiring a centralized authoritative tracker system and or the requirement to de-anonymize ourselves by a peer-to-peer network. Now, some may argue and say, well, I've got VPNs, I've got proxies, I've got all these technologies that mask my IPs. Yes, yeah, we have that, and many of us, including myself, use that. The problem with that is what I said back a long, long time ago when I was much younger and perhaps even wiser at DEF CON 22, when I said, inadequacy breeds innovation. So my very, very first DEF CON talk, I stood up on stage in front of almost 2,500 people, and it scared the shit out of me, and a lot of eyes staring at me, possibly judging me, rightfully so. One thing I said is inadequacy breeds innovation. If there are requirements to innovate technology beyond what the technology was intended to do, a lot of times this is an indication of inadequate technology. So the requirement for us to use proxies and VPNs to wrap our torrent traffic, in my opinion, is an indication of inadequate technology, or technology that maybe started completely adequate, but hasn't quite evolved to meet the current privacy needs that we have now that we didn't maybe have a decade or a decade and a half ago. So it's not necessarily a fault of the torrent technology, but it's at least at a minimum a lack of evolutionary steps that are required to meet the current consumer need.
That is a great question, Gav.
Yes, Demonsaw. Sorry. Yes, Demonsaw has definitely created a new beast as far as file sharing goes. It's definitely a whole new direction to take this entire thing. Torrents started to get a bad name and started to fall sort of into the depths, and since it's lost sort of its professionalism in the way that Demonsaw feels a lot more almost family oriented, even though it's not. That you know, you could have your mother log on and learn how to share something on Demonsaw pretty quickly,
Right.
Without sort of any malicious contact onto that.
Right.
I guess the next question moving forward is whether you have any plans to create a more of a social atmosphere on Demonsaw and create it into more of a social platform for users to maybe post threads or things more oriented in creating their own profile experience through their pseudonym. Are there any plans in regards to that?
Yeah, that's a really cool question as well. So the answer to that is absolutely yes. In fact, some of this information is going to be first revealed on this show. So I feel like we need some sort of like sinister background music when I say things like that. But yes, absolutely yes to your question. Before I jump into the details of kind of what I have in mind, one thing I want to talk about is there's a couple of architecture things missing from Demonsaw right now. Now, I'm a very, very good programmer. I like to tell people I was refined by the fires of Rockstar Games. You know, Rockstar really honed my skills. It really allowed me to reach a much higher level of programming prowess than I ever had before, just because Rockstar, in my opinion, is the greatest game studio in existence, and a bunch of very, very skilled men and women that are employed. But the one thing Demonsaw is missing is this infinite scalability of its network. And to be honest, this is not an oversight on my part. This was specifically designed into the current and the previous versions of Demonsaw because an infinite scalable network is not an easy problem to solve, especially for one guy working part-time on a hobby. Basically, Demonsaw was a hobby. This idea that torrents right now, a lot of people think the torrent network is this multi-million user network that is infinitely scalable. Well, the reality of this is that's not true. It's not a single network that's infinitely scalable because it has the trackers that do a lot of the heavy lifting. So anytime you introduce centralized nodes into a network, you're able to take a lot of the burden off of the decentralization and some of the scalability problems that comes with the decentralized network. The thing about Demonsaw is it is a private cloud right now, and it also is a public cloud. But there are limitations in how big it can scale in its current version. I have a design that I've written out, and it was supposed to make the 3.0 cut, but of course, shit happens. You know, you want 10 things to go into a version, and you end up getting 6, and that's a good day. One of the things that is going to be in a future version of Demonsaw, hopefully 4.0, and we'll talk about what 4.0 is a feature I call router federation. This network design comes back from my security architecture days at American Express, where we designed scalable, fully redundant, and fault-tolerant security networks for American Express. The idea with router federation is that there could be hundreds or thousands of Demonsaw routers all over the world, and you don't have to log into the same one as I do in order to see me online. So it's this idea that you can log into your own personal message router, and I can log into my own personal message router. Think of these as exit nodes or exit relays that I fully control and you fully control. And they have a pseudo trust or a federation. You can think of it like IDFF or OpenID. it's this very lightweight federation where the routers allow traffic to basically, a limited amount of traffic to pass. This type of network design can easily scale up to tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of users because it's not a one-for-one. So it's not even a linear scalable cost that you incur when you group together thousands and thousands more users. So the fact that it's almost a logarithmic cost that you incur allows it to scale to not quite infinite, but pretty damn close to pseudo-infinite clouds or large groups. So imagine joining your message router, and all of us have different message routers, and we can see each other. And if one of our message routers gets honeypotted or doxed, it doesn't in any way affect any of the security or anonymity of any of the other users, because we always have these jump nodes or these hops between the message routers. So this is the idea of hopping across Tor, being relayed through the onion routing network. This is also the idea of jumping between VPNs. Your VPN A goes into VPN B, goes into VPN C. So all of this is kind of combined into one. This is the idea of router federation. With that in mind, with router federation in mind, we'll be able to do much bigger things, such as almost, I think, fully replace Tor. So that was a little tangent, but I want to stop there. Just, do you guys have any questions about that?
That looks awesome. I just wanted to know, maybe if I understand correctly, we'd even be able, maybe perhaps, to have a personal quote-unquote Demonsaw page.
Yes. So because of this, once we get the architecture to the point where a single message router is not required to group individuals, now what we can do is we can host any type of content in Demonsaw. Right now, what we do is we host files, and we host files, and we send chats, and we group together in private and public groups. But we can send any content. So we can synchronize file, we can do VoIP, we can host websites. Think about the dark net and the deep web, or the dark web and the deep web. What's the point of the dark web and the deep web today? Well, what they do is the non-indexed websites. A very, very high-level description of what the dark web and the deep web is they're non-indexed. They're non-indexed websites, and so basically they're ghosted, or they're pseudo-invisible. What if, instead of having to put these secret dark web, deep web websites on a normal web server somewhere, and just make sure it's not indexed by Google or Bing or others? What if you could host an entire infrastructure of online content within Demonsaw itself? What if you can host your entire LinkedIn profile, if you're a hacker, inside of your private group, and maybe only people who could find that were worthy of hiring you as a hacker? I mean, that's an extreme example, but what if you could host anything, your Facebook profile, all your social networks, your Instagram, your files, all within Demonsaw, within whatever networks you choose to participate in. And at any given moment, you could flip the switch from on to off, and all of your personal content has been immediately erased from the internet, because you only allow it to be visible and accessible as long as you give it the thumbs up. But the moment you change your mind, because it's hosted on your machines, you can totally take your entire online presence and sever it from the internet in a moment. It's all a 1 and 0. Whether it's a website you're hosting, or whether it's a file you're sharing, or a secure message you're sending, it's all a 1 and 0. We can replace the dark web, we can replace the deep web, we can replace file sync, we can replace file sharing, we can replace WhatsApp and Dropbox and all the applications that make millions and billions of dollars right now off of us and off of violating our privacy, simply by giving us back control. It really doesn't matter whether it's a 1 or 0. So yes, we can replace the dark web, the deep web, file synchronization services, secure communication services. Imagine not ever having to go to WhatsApp or any of these secure, OTR, or any of these secure mechanisms for communicating. Instead, what you did is you choose the application that you like best, irrespective of security. You chose an app, and it didn't have to bundle the security. And then you forward all that app's communications over Demonsaw. So the network layer was responsible for the securing of the ones and zeros, not the app itself. So the applications become synonymous with mainframe terminals or thin clients. Instead of putting the crypto code inside of every app, the app does nothing with respect to security. Rather, it just feeds its data over a secure network, which is tried and true and reusable and agnostic of all the ones and zeros.
That's incredible. Really incredible. I just got one more little quick question before we move on to Clear Skies. VoIP. Is that coming anytime soon? I don't want to press you here, but is it in the 3.x version, or will it be more in the 4.0 version?
What was, sorry, I didn't hear your acronym.
Okay, the VoIP.
Okay, sorry, wait, yeah. Good question. Well, there's a list of things that, I have this hot list for Demonsaw. For those of your listeners that don't know, I probably have about 2,000 bullet points of features that I want to add to Demonsaw. I have a 5 to 10 year roadmap plan for Demonsaw. Easily I can take us, you figure a major version per year. I always say I want to do 2 major versions per year, but that's a little overzealous. But even if you go to 1 major version a year, so at DEF CON 25, 4.0 would come out, at DEF CON 26, 5.0 would come out, etc. I have enough to take us easily to Demonsaw 10. This hot list of features are some of the big, most highly requested features that everyone always asks about, including VoIP. VoIP, file sync, replacing proxies and VPNs, replacing Tor, even adding an aspect of peer-to-peer to Demonsaw, which is kind of interesting. Either bundling in a torrent code into Demonsaw itself, so you would create a Demonsaw client, or you'd create a BitTorrent client, as well as the dark and deep web replacement, streaming, and Demoncast, router federation. All these are some of the hot list items. VoIP will be part of Demonsaw, as will file sync. There's no question about it. First will come file sync. And file sync for Demonsaw will come out of Clear Skies. So that's so much I can say, and I can promise you. VoIP is going to come after file sync. So VoIP will come first to Clear Skies to meet the emerging enterprise need. And then after that, Demonsaw will get VoIP at some time after. So some of these bigger, more complicated features will happen first in the enterprise version, and the reason for that is, it pays the bills. Obviously, Demonsaw is free for you guys. I'll never put ads there. I'm never going to screw you over in the same way that uTorrent screwed us over by trying to mine bitcoins on our machine without our permission, or forcing us to pay $5 a year to remove the ads, or shoving ads in our face. Any company that shoves ads in our face or asks us to pay $5 a year is a company that's destined for failure and bankruptcy. uTorrent is probably going to fail one day financially. I'm going to throw that out right now. Anybody who begs for $5 a year from our hardworking customers that fight just to pay the bills, that is not a monetization model that uTorrent is going to be successful behind. It just isn't going to work. So for me, with Clear Skies, you build a solid, desirable, secure app that businesses need. You work hard, you produce something of quality, you sell it to businesses at a fair price, they pay you for that, and then you make the money you need to give value back to the shareholders, the MGT shareholders. And then from that, you've got a win-win-win scenario. From that, you can then trickle all of the new features down to the free version, which is Demonsaw, without hurting the consumers. I won't ever take features away from you guys. I won't ever force ads on you. I won't ever ask you for money. I won't ever put a donate button. I won't ever bundle software. I won't ever install shit on your computers. I won't ever be a dick. And that's the Demonsaw promise. So VoIP file sync will come to Demonsaw, but only after we've created it in Clear Skies, and only after we establish a revenue model. I honestly think it's a good balance, and I think most people are happy with that. And even if they're not totally happy, I think nonetheless they appreciate my honesty and transparency, which is something you don't always get from companies.
Okay, Gov, go ahead.
I agree that it's really the transparency that matters in any sort of monetization situation of any kind. But I guess I can sort of lump two things together. I was going to ask about, are there any plans to create sort of trending or a highest downloaded or most popular content feature within a router of any sort? And also, will there be any sort of entropy between files where two clients can share the same file and increase the speed in which it's downloaded by a third-party client?
So right now, the last one is possible today. That feature is called sharding. So if you and I share the same file and say Tech downloads that and we're in the same group, we will both upload chunks of that. So we will parallelize the upload of that to him through a variety of different routers. So we're sharding across really 3 or 4 dimensions. Multiple users are uploading different chunks simultaneously. Every uploader can go across multiple data or transfer routers simultaneously, so we can maximize the throughput across the network. And we have the option of using multiple threads on our machines to upload across those multiple transfer routers. And then the downloader, of course, can download across all these transfer routers at once, and by parallelizing that across multiple threads. So there's really 3 dimensions to that already today. The first question about the entropy and stuff is about the router. Routers know nothing about files, and so that's kind of a unique thing to say. But routers don't even know files exist. Message routers and transfer routers have no concept of files. They don't know folders exist. They don't know files exist. They don't even know that this is a file transfer network. There is nothing that, even if you compromised every transfer router and every message router in the entire world, you would not have any idea, if you're using groups with Demonsaw, what was being sent. You wouldn't know the file name. You wouldn't know the file content. You wouldn't know anything about the search criteria, because routers are completely agnostic to files in general. So I've built this sharing network on which you can share files, and the network doesn't even know about files. It's kind of a bit unintuitive, but that's exactly what I've built. Files are just ones and zeros, just like chat messages are. But it doesn't matter what group of ones and zeros you send throughout the network. The routers will just packet forward it. They don't care what it is. So the idea that the routers would be able to understand files is foreign to Demonsaw. So there's no way for routers to even have some sort of ranking of files, because, like I said, they don't even know files exist.
That's incredible to hear. I'm also excited about daemon services, to be able to host sort of your own service over Demonsaw, and take it outside of centralized control. I guess my last thing is sort of a big chunky question at the end of Demonsaw. What venues of action are there for powers of control to detect or prevent Demonsaw users from sharing? I know that it's sort of undetectable traffic, but what are possibly future venues of working to restrict users from sharing on Demonsaw?
That's a great question as well. So as you're aware, the definition of a hacker is a person who takes software, hardware, and does something with it that the original author or creator never intended. So we're basically finding new use cases for existing stuff. And that's kind of what I've done with HTTP, with the protocol. Now, I'm not the first one to do it. People have done SSH tunnels through HTTP before, but I do it in a unique way. I send everything through it. So if there was a level from like 0 to 10 of how much I abuse the HTTP protocol, I'm somewhere at least around an 8 to a 9. I mean, I blatantly abuse it every single second of the day, and I gladly do it. Right now, well, you guys know that Demonsaw works through the Great Firewall of China, and it worked out of the box. it's very difficult. You could detect traffic patterns with Demonsaw because there are some unique things that I'm doing with HTTP. So I'm doing some things with HTTP that are slightly different than normal web traffic. If you look at a normal HTTP GET or an HTTP post that you do with Google or you do with Microsoft or any web page out there, CNN, and you look at Demonsaw traffic, you're going to notice some slight differences because when you transfer a file, that's a lot of data. But one of the things that I've built into 3.0, and I haven't enabled most of these features, there's about 4 to 5 tricks that I've built into 3.0 that I haven't really told anybody about. And I'm going to enable them in the client as the need arises. So as Palo Alto and other firewall companies think they become smart and modify their Demonsaw detection rules, what I'm going to do is turn on each of these new features and basically totally screw their rules up. And I built all of this into 3.0 code because it's fun. I mean, you know, I enjoy subverting technologies, monitoring systems, screwing over DRM providers. I mean, that's the type of hacker I am. I really like creating software that bypasses a lot of work and money that companies put into it just for the lulz and because I can. For me, that's exciting. So some of these features are secret, but basically if you look at HTTP, there's a variety of things that can be done with it. You can post, you can get, you can send payload data, you can get results back, you can have a stateful or stateless session with it, so you have session IDs, you can send header parameters. What exists right now, that's one of the undisclosed features of the config file, is you can make all of your Demonsaw traffic look like any web server that you want. You can configure the router to look like Apache or IIS or Nginx or whatever you want. You can configure the client to look like a traditional Firefox or Chrome or an old Internet Explorer 8.0 browser. You can configure it however you want through these hidden parameters that I haven't disclosed yet. There are other things that you can do as well. You'll be able to completely change how you send all data in Demonsaw. I'm not going to reveal the specifics of this because I really want to fuck over Palo Alto, basically. I think, to be totally honest and frank, I'm like, there's no point in hiding it. The moment they create new firewall rules, I want to break them the next day. And so I'm not revealing all the different ways I'm going to do that, but you'll be able to completely modify your traffic signature. You'll be able to change everything within the HTTP. You'll be able to completely modify. So if it looks like an oatmeal cookie on Monday, on Tuesday it's going to look like a bologna sandwich. And that's a terrible analogy, and I should never have said that, but it will look completely different. And you'll be able to change it on a daily basis if you want. You'll be able to tweak it by checking a box or unchecking. And everyone's going to be able to make their Demonsaw traffic look completely different. Every client in the network, it will look like a completely different browser. And so is it going to be impossible for smart people to write rules against it? No. But it's not going to be profitable for them to write rules against it. And they're going to have false positives. Firewall rule writers are, they skate down this thin line of between what's correct, what's good enough to trap the majority of the traffic they're trying to look for, and what's going to create false positives. They can't write firewall rules that are going to deny normal traffic, at least not to the extent where they'll get complaints. So there'll be a point at which they're writing rules against Demonsaw, and they'll be screwing over customers not using Demonsaw. And we have that to our advantage, because what we'll do then is we'll make it so difficult for them to write rules that they have to pull back on their firewall rules, which allows us to accomplish exactly what we're accomplishing now. So this is not just Palo Alto, but this is the Great Firewall of China. This is any government or company that tries to impose upon us citizens rules that we should or should not live by. And at the end of the day, I made Demonsaw so that we could be free however we want. And I don't like it when people try to assert their authority on us. That just energizes me to rebel and to create technology that could basically tell them to fuck off, basically.
So we now have a new protocol, the eijah protocol. This is yeah, this is great. Now let's move on to Clear Skies, which is according to you coming out spring 2017. Could you explain to us what Clear Skies Enterprise will be?
Yep. Yeah. So it's as we discussed before, I have to be a little extra vague in talking about Sentinel and Clear Skies, just because publicly I can only say what we've announced in the press release. As the CTO of MGT, I have to be very, very careful. I can talk about the scope and the vision, and I can discuss a lot of the details around what I've already said, either in the existing PRs or before that. But there are a couple things you might want to know, like exact dates, that I won't be able to share with you guys and with your listeners. So I apologize in advance, but I promise you more details are coming, more press releases are coming, and we are actively working on Sentinel and Clear Skies. In fact, we've been actively working on both of them for many, many weeks now. So what is Clear Skies? Clear Skies is the idea that as customers, either individual customers or business customers, and I mean any size business, from a mom and pop shops that have 2 or 3 or 4 employees to the Fortune 50 companies that have thousands and thousands of employees. I believe that as customers and consumers, we don't need companies to keep us safe. So what I mean by that is I don't think we need, and we should believe the lie that companies and governments have been selling us for the last 2 decades. We don't need Dropbox or Amazon Cloud or AWS or WhatsApp or anybody to keep us safe. We don't need CISA. We don't need the US government. We don't need anybody to protect us. I don't even think these companies can protect themselves. I mean, the OPM hack that happened last fall showed that the US government can't protect itself. And then constant hacks almost on a daily basis show us that corporations are completely clueless. They can't even protect their own customer data, let alone protect our personal information as future customers. So this whole foundation of Clear Skies is the idea that if we create a product that allows an easy-to-use product, Demonsaw right now is a rather complicated UI. It's definitely more complicated than we want it to be in the future. But the Clear Skies UI is going to be easier to use than Dropbox, which I think Dropbox is, they hide features like the exit button. I hate that. I don't know why you hide the exit button from your customers, but clearly somebody in the company thought that was a brilliant idea. Make it difficult for people to shut down your app. That's a terrible strategy in my opinion. Never piss off your customers, Dropbox. Why? Because you're the reason why I made Demonsaw. 3 years ago, you wanted to charge me $100 for extra storage, and I got pissed at you and I made Demonsaw. So never pissed off your customers, because they might eventually make a competitor app and put you out of business. But Clear Skies was the idea that if you give an easy-to-use, solid, secure product, and you design it around setting the consumer free while giving him or her the same level of convenience and the same or greater level of security, and you make it a configurable and adaptive network to protect all of their content. The existing content that they're using now through competitor products like secure chat and secure file sync, but you also give them an option of maybe securing insecure protocols and insecure applications like email and clear text and things of this nature. And then what you do is you give them a variety of easy to use and configure options on how they can adapt this technology to their individual needs, and then you price it at the right place. I think you have a revolutionary, innovative product that can put the cloud companies out of business. So at a high level, Clear Skies, it's not Demonsaw. In fact, it's not just the corporate paint on Demonsaw. In fact, it's totally different than Demonsaw. It is powered by the Demonsaw technology, but it's nowhere similar to Demonsaw at all. It has a different focus, has a different feel, it has a different attitude. Demonsaw is a very hacker-friendly kind of FU attitude, where Clear Skies is very corporate, very enterprise. It's very comfortable for that environment. The Clear Skies really is going to start with file sync, VoIP, Tor-like functionality, and the ability to secure insecure communications through technology similar to a SOC 5 proxy. So let's break those 4 things down. And keep in mind, Clear Skies is also going to support existing functionality that's available in Demonsaw. So you can secure chat, you'll be able to join groups, you'll be able to share files, etc. But it's going to start with file sync. So basically think, put Dropbox out of business. Number 2 is it's going to have VoIP. Think, put Skype out of business. Number 3 is it's going to have a Tor-like functionality. Instead of one Tor network, you're going to be able to create millions of Tor networks. And these Tor networks, you're going to be able to configure and control all of the exit nodes. And your routers can be exit nodes, your clients can be exit nodes, and all this will happen within the comfort of your private groups. So all of the liability and problems that we get today with Tor are going to totally go away with the dynamic routing functionality that's in Clear Skies. Why is this important? This is important because there are a lot of governments and countries and corporations that don't value our personal privacy. So keep in mind, this is not about us, this is not about piracy at all. This is about privacy. This is about us acting as adults, doing what we want with our information and our communications at the level that makes us feel comfortable. This could be used by families to share photos of their kids with their grandparents. It can be used by missionaries that are preaching the gospel in the 1030 window, or in a country that's maybe arrest people that go there to spread the gospel. It can be used by political dissidents in third world nations where they execute reporters for videotaping government corruption. And it can be used by everyday normal companies and individuals that just don't want the government tracking and logging everything we do. And finally, the 4th thing is going to be, how can we secure insecure applications like email? Well, we build a network that can take any input. So think a SOC 5 proxy right now. If Demonsaw supported a SOC 5 proxy, you could basically forward all of your web browsing traffic through your secure Demonsaw network and not worry about the Great Wall of Fire or Great Firewall of China anymore. You wouldn't worry about firewalls. You could forward your traffic through Demonsaw, and you could not only browse web pages that maybe your company or your government doesn't want you to browse, but you could do anything you want. Because Demonsaw acts as a secure HTTP tunnel, you can send anything through it. So pointing your web browser, pointing your email client at Demonsaw as a SOC 5 proxy, super, super easy to do. And this allows businesses and individuals to send almost everything through Demonsaw and not ever worry about companies and governments sending you a DMCA takedown notice or arresting you or knocking on your door at 4 a.m. or doing terrible things that a lot of oppressive regimes do today.
Very, very interesting. Gov Spiders, would you have some comments or questions on Clear Skies?
I guess I can sort of sum it up with a little bit of what I said earlier. I think it's the proper way to go as far as monetizing the idea of Demonsaw. It's very transparent. It has a nice feel to it. Like you were talking about with uTorrent and a lot of sort of sketchy things that they've done with putting block miners inside of uTorrent or loading things with bloatware. There are all kinds of mechanisms that developers use that leave a really nasty taste in your mouth. And I think that the way to go is really to bring a lot of these features to Clear Skies, allow them to be used and perfected even on a commercial level, because there's more drive and incentive to fix something if it's in the hands of a paid customer, to sort of polish everything out before it drifts its way down to Demonsaw, which these are all very glamorous features that we're discussing anyway. Demonsaw already has the functionality that is required for what it's trying to handle, I guess. So it's not like you're leaving the users with a half-built platform or anything. They have the tools in their hands, and it's really just moving forward from here into Clear Skies capabilities.
Exactly. I started out pissed off at Dropbox, and I ended up building this scalable secure and anonymous network on which you could send any data you wanted. So I didn't start out as an activist, or I didn't start out as with political ambitions in mind or corporate ambitions in mind. I literally got pissed at Dropbox, just like I got pissed at Blu-ray a few years before that. And you end up as a programmer and as a hacker, you end up doing things that some people might view as stupid or foolish. But you know what? You do something, you follow your heart, you follow your passions, and you create something beautiful that meets your own needs, and then it catches on. But you're absolutely right. I envision a world, and this is not far off world. We're talking, let me put my Ray Kurzweil hat on and try to predict the future, but we're talking a decade out. I mean, we're talking about a world a decade out from now, maybe a decade and a half, where the concept of downloading an app that serves one purpose, one privacy-directed purpose, would be silly. 10 years from now, nobody's going to download a WhatsApp to send secure communications. Nobody's going to download a Dropbox to synchronize their file. I don't use the word secure with Dropbox ever, by the way, but nobody's going to download an app that is built for one very specific purpose and ends up reinventing the wheel across the development lifecycle. Instead, people are going to download whatever app they see fit, and then they're going to send all of their data across their trusted and known and secure infrastructure that they use for everything, that they have their social networks built out across. So social networks aren't going to be a web page in the future. The social network is truly going to be a network. It's going to be an infrastructure-based network, and it's going to be genericized and abstracted to the point where you can send anything over it. And it's not going to be owned by any one company. There's going to be no Zuckerbergs in the future making billions of dollars off of data mining our most intimate details. There's going to be no Google execs that are making bank because it remembers, what type of porn I search for. There's going to be none of this in the future. There's going to be an anonymous infrastructure network that we send whatever we want using whatever applications we deem most useful. So if we're on Linux and we prefer a Linux version of a chat app, we can use that. If we're on Windows and we prefer a Windows version, we can use that. You'll no longer have to put the impetus on the application provider to deal with the lower level intricacies of securing the transmission and even writing the protocol, to be honest. That's going to be taken care of by much smarter people who are much more competent and capable hackers and programmers and makers that are already perfecting it today. And this is going to be the world upon which the future generations are built. And it's going to be a world and a new internet that is not going to be monitored by governments and corporations. And that's what I most enjoy about this whole thing, is that very, very soon, governments will have zero visibility into everything we do online, and corporations as well. Everybody making money off of targeted ads will be out of business in 1 to 2 decades. Governments will not have these huge data centers where they store our most intimate details for decades and decades. There won't be data mining. There won't be false arrests made because their algorithms are inadequate. They won't have any visibility. And so we will have privacy the same way that we did 100 years ago. Governments, our police force, these are important parts of our government. And by the way, I fully respect governments and corporations, and I believe we should secure our borders, and I'm a patriot, and I'm an American, but we shouldn't treat our citizens as criminals. And we sure as hell shouldn't collect data about the people who founded this country, and the whole reason why we have a company is to, to serve the people of the country, not the other way around. We don't serve the institution, and it's high time that we take the power away from the institutions and change the future. And so it's a bit matrixy, it's a bit revolutionary, but this is the right way to go. The alternative is that we continue down this path, and 1984 happens somewhere around 2024, and we literally are prisoners of rules and regulations. We lose privacy, life sucks, suicides rate go up, and there's very, very little reason for existing except, to follow the rules. And that's not a future that I want to live in, and that's sure as hell a future that I don't want my children to live in as well.
Very, very, very interesting. Maybe we could touch a little bit on the Sentinel. I only read very little about it. Maybe you could just explain what you explained already about it.
Sure. So Sentinel's a really, really cool technology. It was developed by a couple of really good friends of mine, both members of Hack Miami, Greg Tampa and Seth Wall. And they're still active in Hack Miami. In fact, they were with me at DEF CON. They're both brilliant programmers, makers, engineers, hackers, etc. They developed Sentinel as a technology that could be installed on a network, either a consumer or a business network. And what it could do is, unlike a lot of competitor products that will monitor the traffic and then create a report. So basically, a lot of competitor products, so you'll attach this device to your network and it will sit there and it will monitor and it will collect data, and then it will realize, oh yeah, you're being hacked. Okay, let me log this. Okay, you're being hacked. Here's all the information. And tomorrow when you come into the office, or 4 weeks from now, when somebody does a report or transfers the log off of that, you see that, oh yeah, eijah's computer got hacked 18 times. Oh yeah, Tech Lords got hacked 43 times and they accessed these locations. Instead of it being a post-mortem where there's nothing we can do, what Sentinel does for businesses and consumers is it monitors in real time. And within seconds of it detecting that there's malicious activity, it notifies you. So it takes the approach, instead of post-mortem, let's not wait until the machine is killed. Let's detect something happening now, and let's do something about it now so that we can stop the attack, or we can react intelligently and not post-mortem reaction. So we can take a much more proactive approach as opposed to a reactive approach to the event going on. And that's really what Sentinel does. It's a product that we all need, both in the consumer and the business space. And it's part of MGT's strategy for a cybersecurity company that is both hardware and software proficient. MGT is going to be a company that's not just about making software solutions. It's going to make hardware solutions as well. And that's what excites me about being the CTO, and that's what excites me about, one of the things that excites me about working with John on this is he has a hardware and a software background, as do I. And so being able to address the cybersecurity concerns in both spaces is really, really cool. And it's an honor and a privilege to be part of a company that's focused on both aspects. When you go to DEF CON, it's not just about software hacking, it's about hardware hacking. There's just as much focus on the maker aspect and the lock-picking aspect of DEF CON as there is the CFP and the pen test aspect. And so you can't have one without the boat or without the other. In fact, if you go back decades and decades, it all started with tinkering with hardware. It all started with, what could I do to take this device and make it do something that was not originally intended? So our roots are in the hardware hacking, and just recently it's become much more software hacking. But we need to address both. We need a company that's focused on both, because every business and every consumer has hardware devices and software devices. And so it's about the physical security of the office and of the home, and it's about the physical security of the device, especially in an IoT world, and it's about the software security as well. So you've got to have the full spectrum of full spectrum in any sort of cybersecurity company. And Sentinel is our first product in the hardware space.
Very interesting. Does that mean that MGT will offer services such as servers, physical servers, accompanied with the Clear Skies and Sentinel technologies?
So you guys are very, very smart, and no comment right now, but look at the smile on my face. That's what I'll say. So for anybody who can't see me right now, there's a big grin on my face. So officially I have to say no comment to that. What I can say is that expect the unexpected with MGT. John's a smart guy. I'm a smart guy. This is a smart team that we've put together. Many smart people have come together. Many different people are joining the team now. In fact, we just interviewed and hired our first programmer for Clear Skies and Demonsaw 4.0, and he'll be I can't reveal details about it, but he'll be joining the team within the next couple of weeks. So the team is growing. We're pulling together brilliant minds, and you should always expect the unexpected. If there is an attack vector and there is an area where attack vectors are flourishing, expect MGT to be at the forefront of that fight, giving consumers and businesses, individuals and businesses, hardware and software-based solutions to protect their information and ensure that that their privacy and their security and anonymity are protected.
Will Clear Skies kill the cloud?
Well, here's the interesting way of looking at it. So I would love to say yes. Nothing would please me more than if I just said yes. What I will promise is that, well, I can't promise this, but you know what? I expect Dropbox to have some challenges ahead, and Box and more traditional file sync cloud providers. I expect them to be presented with an option that in the entrepreneurial world, we call this a pivot or die option, where as the landscape changes, sometimes we have to pivot our strategy and our focus, otherwise we die. I expect companies like Dropbox and Box to pivot or die. Some of them will pivot, some of them will die. Here's the way to look at the cloud. The cloud, I like to say the cloud is a lie. And that's mostly true. And I do that because it's a fun phrase. It gets a lot of exciting reactions. The truth is the cloud that's been sold to us right now is a lie. The cloud that is being sold to us by Dropbox and Amazon and Apple and Microsoft right now is a subset of the real cloud. So let me explain that. Demonsaw is a superset of the cloud. The cloud that exists today is only part of what Demonsaw offers and will offer in the future. It is the part of the cloud where we host our information on companies' machines and access it from anywhere in a very convenient way. That's part of the cloud, and that's a much needed paradigm for information security and for content distribution, both here and in the future. That's an option we have to have. And let me explain that. There will be, people do not want to host data centers in their homes. There will still be the need of centralized servers and content providers to provide these distributed services of hosted content. But that's not really what the cloud is and will be in the future. The cloud needs to offer more. The cloud needs to offer solutions where you can host your own content, where maybe you have a toggle that you can slide to the left or the right. So you host more of your information on the cloud or less. Or maybe you host information on the cloud only to queue up information for faster download or faster transmission or sharing of information with friends and family. And so the lie of the cloud right now has been only a small subset of the true power and functionality of the cloud. With Clear Skies, I'm opening up the cloud. And so I like to say not a cloud in the sky. The real truth of this is we're killing the lie that's been sold to us of what the cloud is. And we're opening up everything to clearer skies where people will have a choice. And some days they will prefer their clouds, and some days they will prefer their blue skies. But the important thing is give everybody the choice of to cloud or not to cloud, rather than to force us into this path that really only benefits corporations and governments. And keep in mind, the cloud as it exists today is very, very good for business for companies and governments. Companies make billions off of personal information and are not held accountable when they screw up and get hacked. And governments have a single point of backdooring millions and millions of records. And hackers are happy because they only have to hack one insecure network node, and their payoff is millions and millions of records. The option we need for the cloud is to bring that data back home. We need to give the choice to individuals to host it from home if they want. We don't need companies to keep us safe, and we sure as hell don't need them to hold our data and charge us $100 a year for it, like Dropbox tried to do with me. The problem with this model is it's not financially beneficial for companies to give our data back to us. They can't sell it, they can't mine it, they can't charge us a residual monthly fee, and they can't give it away to the governments and get nice governmental kickbacks like what we see in CISA, where all liability of them being hacked is removed if they cooperate with the government, which, by the way, is, according to CISA, isn't a violation of our privacy policies that we signed with them. So the way to solve this problem is take the power away from governments and corporations. And that's what we're working on. That's what John and I and the rest of MGT are doing now and are going to continue to do in the future. And this is the society that we're going to have in the next 10 years. Demonsaw and Clear Skies are they're leading the pack right now with rolling out this technology, but I'm sure many products will come up in the years to come that will mimic this, and it will be probably 10 years from now a relatively crowded space where many people are offering this. And like I said, 10 to 20 years from now, I don't think companies will be hosting our data anymore, and I don't think Facebook will be around. I don't think Google will be as powerful, and to be honest, it will be a beautiful place.
Very, very interesting. Well, we've been at it for 1 hour, so now we're going to go more in the more of a free flow form.
Cool.
We have Kevin here. He has been very silent. Kevin, would you like to comment or ask question to eijah right now?
I just think this is really fascinating. It's really nothing to do with my world in the wheelhouse as a cabinet maker, but I find the forward-thinking aspects of where you're going, eijah, is just a brilliant. I just would ask a really kind of off-topic question. Do you believe, I've been sort of looking at where information transmission was going to be potentially light-based, peer-to-peer transmission, and do you see that coming to fruition anytime in the next decade as a possible alternative to centralized networks?
Yeah, definitely. Right now, as you guys well know, mesh networks are very hot. It's a kind of a hot topic, a hot commodity. There's mesh network software that's available now for Linux and Windows, and you can install it on your own. I think if the technology is constantly evolving. The mesh networks are going to be a key and critical component to this decade out future that I see, 2 decade out future that I see. The cool thing about mesh networks is that you could break free from traditional infrastructure hosted, ISP hosted networks. A lot of people want to not rely on the Comcasts of the world or the Google Fibers of the world to provide their internet. The tough thing about this is in close-knit communities, you can create these file sharing and communication sharing hubs without going over the ISP backbone. So a lot of the impetus for mesh networks really comes from the privacy angle. And that is, if I send information to you and you're next door to me or you're a mile away from me, do I really need to go through the ISP backbone where NSA has put the black boxes and they're monitoring and they're recording all this? That impetus is a valid one. It's a valid question. It's a valid reason for implementing mesh-based networks. The more secure and decentralized the internet becomes, I think the more options we have around maybe not worrying as much about eavesdropping and snooping. We still shouldn't have to send our data through an infrastructure hub in order to go 2 blocks over. The infrastructure that the ISPs use today has been set up and it's been in the process of being constructed and connected for a half a century now. And so this is an infrastructure that even more than half a century that's been around, since the telecom days. And still today, people use DSL and dial-up, while others of us use fiber. So this infrastructure is not going away anytime soon. Mesh networks provide an alternative path by bypassing all that. It's going to take time to set up that sort of infrastructure. And the technology is going to have to catch up, whether it's line of sight or whether it's RF or whether it's a wireless spectrum and a broader reach of wireless communications. Change is happening, but it's going to take time for the technology to catch up to the brilliant minds that are envisioning this better future. And I think mesh-based networks of today are only going to get cooler and more powerful and more prominent in the future. but it is going to take the technology to catch up. And it's going to take an understanding and a enlightening of the average consumer to explain why this is necessary. Even today, there are many, many people who don't understand why privacy is even an issue. They still take the stance that I have nothing to hide. Why should I care if they log every aspect of my life? This is still a valid, or not a valid, but a very well heard argument that we hear from sometimes the vast majority of citizens. And so as long as we're having this discussion, it's going to be very, very difficult to then convince people why mesh networks provide a privacy harbor in a lot of ways by not sending our traffic through the backbone, and of course through the NSA's very well positioned black boxes where they collect a lot of data. Mesh networks aren't going anywhere. In fact, they're only going to increase in power, and they're only going to increase their presence, and they're going to definitely be a core part of this anonymous and secure and private internet that Demonsaw and Clear Skies and MGT are building. I think Kim.com said it best. When I was out in New Zealand, I guess a few weeks ago now, one of the things he's talked about was his vision for what he calls MegaNet. MegaNet is, he hasn't revealed much information, and I'm not at liberty to reveal anything that he hasn't revealed publicly. But what he has said is that MegaNet is the idea that we can construct a dynamic and real-time mesh-based network through all of our mobile devices without going through any infrastructure. So one day, all of our phones will provide the power and the range to establish a worldwide mesh-based network that will be able to break free of the traditional, what we'll call Internet 1.0 infrastructure, which is what we use today. So the land-based infrastructure of fiber and phone lines and things like that will no longer be necessary. We'll be able to do either route everything through access points, or we'll be able to do a true peer-to-peer type mesh-based network all over our phones. Now, there's a lot of problems with this today. The technology is just not there, and Kim has been the first to admit that. But this is part of his long-term vision for the internet, and I think he's right on. I really do. I think the future of the internet is going to be mesh, and it's going to be mesh, and it's going to be a secure layer, and it's going to be the secure communications, and it's going to be allowing us to control where our data resides, and most importantly, it's going to be giving us the switch from off to on to back to off, where at any point in time we can hit that switch and everything about us is offline, and we have full control of everything about us. You post that rather silly picture of you maybe not quite clothed at a company party, and it's an embarrassing photo, or it's not good for your future career. You can hit a switch and it's gone, and it's gone for good. And so this is an internet that we're building out today. It comes back to giving the power back to each one of us, and trusting us to decide how to use it, for good or for bad.
Good spiders.
Oh, sorry. I truly identify with the idea that we need to ascend beyond this infrastructure of the internet, and also that it's going to take time for the innovation of those actually willing to put in the work to catch up with the minds that are actually dreaming all of this up. I sort of often say that I feel like the reality that I feel I'm living in is 20 years ahead of what it actually is. Our capabilities are a lot more limited than I guess we all assume and talk about a lot more advanced things, and we're sort of on the edge of our seats talking about all of these different fundamentals through technology that we sort of expect it to be there, and we're really not there yet. There are a lot of things that it's going to take time for us to catch up to the philosophies behind these ideas. I also agree that I guess the only thing with Demonsaw, it covers up a lot of your protection and privacy as far as your data, but the only question is whether your system was someone was on your system, or someone gets a backdoor into your system. That is sort of the only flaw, that they have access to your client and can directly manipulate you or whatever. That Sentinel would be the perfect full spectrum partnership of something like Clear Skies or Demonsaw. That protecting the hardware is just as important as protecting the network side of things.
Right.
And that you're not going to want somebody to get between either of those infrastructures.
Right.
And I really think it is a good combo.
Absolutely. I think your point's very valid. There's not, it's like in programming, we say there is no silver bullet. It's, if a werewolf is coming after you, you need a silver bullet to kill it. And with programming, there is no silver bullet. I mean, what may work today might not work tomorrow and may not work for all problems. It's a constant need to adapt and evolve and to pivot, like we said before. But choice is important, and choice to the consumer as well as the choice of different products that secure at different points in the stack. Not everybody is going to want their network monitored for hackers. Some people may they might just use their internet for playing Xbox Live, and other people might use their internet for hosting websites that are important for their business. So everybody's going to have a different need. Everybody's going to want one or more different products, and that's where it comes back to choice. So giving choice to the consumer and the business, as well as giving choice to each one of us to ultimately be responsible for our own information. Companies and governments are not going to like what John and I are building, at least the competitors. So the Dropboxes and the Amazon Web Services of the world are not going to like what we're putting together, because it is against what they've been selling and this lie that they've been propagating and selling for many, many years, that they've made billions of dollars off of. But that was 10 years ago. The needs of the internet 10 years ago are not the needs of the internet today. So I'm not implying that these companies or governments tried to mislead us and abused us. But what I am stating is that evolution has taken over, and we are smarter consumer base now, and we're more privacy savvy, and we have different needs, and we don't like where things are going. And so as hackers and programmers and technologists and avid consumers, we have choice. We vote with our wallets, we vote with our minds, we vote with our voice, and we're going to choose differently. And John and I believe that the future is going to be a brighter place, and we're working 14 to 16 hours a day at least to make it that. So it's an exciting time to be here, it's an exciting time to be alive. And the most important point, which I say to the Demonsaw community all the time, is I could have never have done Demonsaw had it not been for the support of the community and their willingness to cooperate and help me out. And they give me the strength to carry on. And I'm sure John would say the same thing for the avid cybersecurity company or avid cybersecurity community, is that he feeds off the strength of others that support him just like I do. We can't do it alone. It's not a fight that John or I could ever win by ourselves. It comes back to you guys. You're the ones that are ultimately going to change the future. John and I are just individuals that are trying to help along the way. But the real thanks and the real kudos go to you guys, because without you, we could achieve nothing and we would be nothing. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for caring. Thank you for your harsh criticism at times. And even the reminder that we need to be better every day. A code review is coming. A code audit of the Demonsaw code base will be underway shortly. We will be auditing the Clear Skies code base as well. And so we're improving every day. But it comes back to you guys and your suggestions and your feedback. If we're better today than we were yesterday, it's really because of your support and encouragement that help us be that. So thank you very much.
Well, we're the ones who should thank you for bringing Demonsaw to us. But we're really excited about using it. I have a little request. Well, let's say it's a suggestion. Let's say somebody we want to message somebody, but the person is not there. So instead of waiting till they log on, would there be a way to leave a message even though they're not there?
Yeah, this was a feature that was brought up in Demonsaw 2.0, and it's on the list. A lot of features are on the list, and I would love to implement every single one of them, and I still hope and I still believe that within the next 10 years I will. This was called offline messaging, and it's something that is totally feasible, and we could definitely do it. We could do it in Demonsaw 3.0. It's really not that difficult to do, The problem comes with, is there an adverse effect to privacy? Everything we do in Demonsaw, we first consider the privacy ramifications. So first we look at, does this hinder privacy? And I'll give you an example. A lot of people have said, if I shut down Demonsaw and I'm downloading something and I restart Demonsaw and the download didn't finish, I would love just to auto restart where I left off. Well, the reason why we didn't make that is because that requires logging, and there's no logging in Demonsaw. So in order to know you were downloading a file, I would have to log the fact that you were downloading that file and then read that file in on restart. And so it's not enough just to read the file. I'd have to know the size of the file, where you were in the file. There'd have to be some sort of CRC verification check. I would have to go out and get the file again. And so there's all this state maintained. What was decided in Demonsaw 2.0 that it was not good for privacy, and so this feature was kind of removed. It doesn't mean we can't implement this feature without privacy ramifications, but that's an example where offline messaging, we're having that discussion now. If we made offline messaging, what we would do is the message router would, in memory, have to remember that you were online at a given time, and it would have to detect that you later joined back. Well, there is no cross-executable correlation of identity in Demonsaw. So the moment you shut down Demonsaw and the moment you restart Demonsaw, you are a total different client to the world. Nobody can ever recognize you as the same. Nobody knows your IP. None of the clients know your IP. None of the clients have any way to correlate cross-executable ID. So in order to do offline messaging, there would have to be some mechanism, either a true identity built into it, or a requirement of private groups, or some sort of persistent, unique ID that you opted in. They would have to be an opt-in, and this would, at the end of the day, be some sort of violation of privacy. And this is why this offline messaging is it's an easy feature to add. It's a difficult feature to justify when privacy is your #1 goal. Doesn't mean it won't be there. File sync had the same question. Is how do we auto sync files if there's no identity? How do I know that you are not honeypotting this file and I'm not going to suck down a virus from you? Well, file sync is being addressed through private groups. So offline messaging could totally be addressed through private groups as well. And a lot of the solutions to these is through private groups, which do allow us to have a pseudo identity being established without more traditional private and public key identities that we use in the internet today. So there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of possibilities. But yeah, every single new feature like this, it's easy to add a feature like offline messaging and resume downloads cross-executable instance when you centralize this information. It's really, really easy. It's really hard to do it when privacy is your #1 goal. And so every feature we add, we constantly reevaluate, does this diminish privacy? If so, we make this feature opt-in, so we don't force it down your throat. And if it's really a blatant privacy violation, then we probably don't even add the feature. There are plenty of competitor applications to Demonsaw that will blatantly violate your privacy, that provide more features than Demonsaw has. And so I don't want to be one of those, and I won't be one of those. So, but it doesn't mean offline messaging won't be added. To be honest, I would love to have the feature, and I would love to have it in private groups, because we're not always online, right? I would love to start my laptop at the airport and realize that 3 people wanted to message me. It's just the timing, and it's just figuring out how we do it in a way that doesn't harm our privacy.
Excellent, excellent answer. GovSpiders, would you have more questions or comments on what was just said?
Yeah, I guess I can fully understand where keeping any sort of identifier of a user becomes a problem. It's all pseudonym based. Like I switch computers a lot, or I've tried to build Demonsaw from a live USB, and so you kind of lose all history that you ever existed, like you said. And it's just as easy to type in my pseudonym GovSpiders and then set my share back to the folders it was at originally, and everything's sort of back to normal. But I do see where it could become important to get offline messages. But when even if you have somewhere in a message router where those messages sit and wait for a user to come in. That user would somehow need to authenticate themselves through some sort of encryption key, which just leaves it open for someone being able to subvert your identity or your account and to move forward and to use that hash to somehow take away the privacy of the user is what we're getting at.
Right. And it was funny because within the first week of launching Demonsaw 2.0, so this was a little bit more than a year ago, I created this decentralized network that didn't have identity. And within the first week of launching it, people wanted identity. So it was one of those aha moments for me where I sat back and I thought, well, that sucks. You know, I thought nobody wanted identity. And then you launch it and there were people that still want it. Private groups, I think, solve this problem, or at least it solves it to the degree where being a member of a group is a form of authentication. It's a form of authentication / authorization, because it's kind of, we kind of merge both of them together through verification, validation, through all of the crypto. But private groups allow you to authenticate in a way where you're trusted enough where we could add features like file sync and offline messaging. It still isn't enough for what we want to do with true identity. Because, you know, somebody could still get access to your private group, and there's still the concern of, well, if I join private group alpha and I say I'm eijah, does it really mean I'm eijah? So we need true identity and certificate-based identity, and that's an item that's on the list, and it's something that will be added in the future. It's a great feature for Clear Skies because it has a valid business need where you just need that extra identity verification step, true identity. And so that's something that you guys will see come into Clear Skies at some point in the future. And likely that will be a feature that will eventually trickle down to Demonsaw because it's a feature that people have asked for. And like I said before, not every Clear Skies feature is going to trickle down to Demonsaw. There will be some features that are either only really valuable at an enterprise level, like compliance reporting is a great example, or LDAP or Active Directory integration for extra layers of authentication. And then there will be some features that are premium features that the company makes money off of. And that's one of our goals. That's one of our revenue generation ways that we can continue to fund Demonsaw and continue to make it totally free for you guys, no ads. So there will be things that just never trickle down. But what I do promise to do is that as much that I can add from Clear Skies to Demonsaw, I will do. And one thing I will never do is once a feature's in Demonsaw, I will never take it away. So if something's there now, it will always be there. And I will never suddenly decide that, nope, you can't private message because we're making a lot of money in Clear Skies, and sorry to be an average consumer. You know, I just won't do that. I'm not going to steal features. Newer versions might deprecate some older options and stuff that are maybe no longer necessary because we've optimized the network. But I won't remove big features just because. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in screwing you guys over. So there's a lot of cool stuff to look forward to.
Will, I have a little question for the everyday user. Will it be affordable to get Clear Skies?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the first time I've been asked that, but I've had many conversations with John about this. Before I even agreed to come onto MGT, the first discussion we had is, I need to know that Demonsaw is going to continue to be free forever, and that we're never going to put ads, or we're never going to charge, or we're never going to bundle software, or we're never going to install, or we're never going to log, or we're never going to do any of these uTorrent things that happen in the world and that we live in. And you know, he agreed to that. He said, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that you make the decisions. I trust you, eijah. In terms of so in terms of sorry, could you repeat the question? Sorry about that.
Okay, will it be affordable for a guy like me to get Clear Skies? I'm not a business, I'm not a corporation, but I want to get Clear Skies. Will it be affordable for me?
Yeah, so we had a couple discussions about this, and obviously I can't reveal any of the pricing details about Clear Skies. Those haven't been publicly released yet, and I can't reveal any more time frames. But I think there are going to be individuals that want access to some of the Clear Skies features. So one of two things are going to happen. Either we're going to allow it to be sold to individuals, which might work just fine. There are going to be individuals that have small companies that need access to Clear Skies. So there might be an entrepreneur that owns his or her own company that literally has no employees. And for all intents and purposes, he or she is a one-person company. As an individual, they'll definitely be able to purchase Clear Skies. There's no question about that. For a non-business use, I honestly don't see a reason why we would ever deny just an individual to purchase Clear Skies. There's going to be a lot of functionality in Clear Skies that's not going to be desirable for the average individual. Like I said, we have compliance hooks, we've got LDAP, Active Directory integration. We're going to be more corporate minded. It doesn't mean you or I can't purchase it. My personal opinion is what's more desirable is possibly looking at maybe a middle solution, so somewhere between Demonsaw and Clear Skies. Maybe we have a pro version, or maybe we have a Demonsaw premium version, or maybe we have something that's kind of bridges the gap between the enterprise business world and the consumer world. Maybe the pro version offers some more advanced features, like some of the VoIP features, or the Tor, or the SOX 5, or some of these. But maybe these features are available at a very, very good price points, and something that companies have successfully offered a pro version or offered a premium version, and been able to continue the community version for free. This is a tough thing to get right, and I'm totally honest with you guys right now. I'm never going to hide the truth. This is a tough thing to get right, because I never want the community to feel like they're being robbed of features. Even though Clear Skies might implement a new feature, I never want people to feel like that Demonsaw is a second-class citizen. If it weren't for Demonsaw, none of this would even be here, and none of these opportunities would be present. But at the same time, these features that we're adding to Clear Skies cost a lot of money to build out, and we have to make money, and we have to add value to our shareholders. So we have to make money from businesses that can afford to pay us, and that pays for the development, and that also pays for my time and John's time, and that gives value back to the shareholders, because we are a publicly traded company. So we have to make money. Companies are in the business of making money. So if I can find that key balance between offering a middle version, a pro version, while not making the free community version feel like it's being cheated, I think it's a win-win. That's my goal. Is I never want anybody using the community version of Demonsaw to feel like they've been slighted, and I want them to always feel like Demonsaw provides everything, or the majority of things, that meets their need. And for those people who want the pro, the more premium features, if we did offer that, I want the price point to be competitive and fair. And it takes a lot of work to build software, and we have a lot of bills to pay. And it's important that companies make money as well. So if I can strike the balance between the two extremes and offer the middle tier product at the right price, I'll definitely consider it. And if there's enough interest, I mean, to be honest, if you guys want a pro version, let me know. If I don't hear the interest, then there probably won't be one. But if you guys reach out and you want it, and it's something that you're willing to pay X number of dollars for, let me know, and I will directly factor that in. And if enough people have interest, then we'll build out a pro version, sure. But if there's not interest, then it probably won't happen. So you guys, you are almost in charge. In fact, I would say you are totally in charge of where this ship steers. It's really up to you.
Well, we're almost at the hour-and-a-half point now. So I'd like to ask Kevin any last words or questions or comment for eijah.
I'm thankful to hear a very technical explanation of a vision of the future, and appreciate the sort of the selfless nature. It seems very altruistic. I know that there's remuneration in in the long term, but the point being, I think it provides alternatives to, as I just watch everything going with security and spying and keeping track of people's internet identity as a point of source of information, and it's pretty disturbing for me. I live in a tiny town on the edge of a mountain in Canada, so I'm pretty happy to be sort of out of the public eye as far as cameras and all that thing. So these other facets are important to me as a human being, because I think that innocence is the key to exploration of knowing the self. And without people like eijah taking the time out to sort of allow people to grow their own experiences without being profiled, I think we wouldn't be heading in the right direction as a species. So eijah, thank you, and that's pretty much all I have to say.
Oh, well, thank you very much for the very kind words and your support. And there are thousands of companies today that put profit first and put the privacy and the protection of its customers second or third or fourth, or who knows where they fall on the list. John and I believe that we can put the privacy of our customers first and still deliver not only tremendous products, but tremendous value to our shareholders. And it doesn't change the formula of a publicly traded company where we're here to make money. There's no question about that. Nobody's going to dispute that. But I believe we can put privacy first and deliver more value and better products and more benefit to our shareholders by simply shifting that focus initially. I don't think it undermines our goal. I don't think it devalues our company. I think quite the contrary. I think by focusing on privacy and focusing on our customers, I think we change the entire paradigm of what it means to be a company. And I think we'll be more successful by taking that stance, genuinely, honestly taking that approach, not faking it, but genuinely taking that approach and delivering value to our customers and our shareholders and our partners by simply switching the order of what our priority is. And I think we're seeing that today, and I think we'll be seeing that in the near and long-term future as we continue to roll out products like Clear Skies and Sentinel, and products that are even beyond that we hadn't even announced yet.
Gov Spiders, your last thoughts or comments or questions?
Yeah, I think what really holds the most value with me is generally intent or motive of a given idea. And there's really something very innocent and respectful about Demonsaw, and even just the business model and the direction that things are heading as far as any form of monetization. Because I guess at the end of the day, we all need to eat, is the idea. It's very great that Demonsaw will always be open and free for the users, and that they won't ever be lacking out on any large-scale features from the Enterprise Edition. I really overall think that Demonsaw, Clear Skies, and Sentinel are all sort of a good direction to step forward for all of the tech world, all of the tech community, in getting away from cloud marketing and into services that really respect their needs. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been an awesome panel. Can't wait to see more features added to Demonsaw. You're awesome, man. Keep it up.
Well, thank you very much. And keep in mind the long-awaited folder download will be launched in version 3.1 final. So we're in the beta of 3.1 now, and I'm adding more features. But the most highly requested feature is folder download, which was in 2.7. Like I said, time ran out. I didn't get it added to 3.0. I will eternally be apologizing for that, but I tried my best. But that will be in 3.1, and On that day, it will be a glorious day where people will be able to download folder upon folder in an infinite hierarchical nest of awesomeness. So that will hopefully drop in the next 7 to 10 days. I got to go to New York next week, and we have the shareholder meeting and the proxy votes finalized. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but I really want to get that out next week. So fingers crossed, the next 7 to 10 days, you guys will be able to have folder awesomeness, I promise.
Well, that was a great show tonight here on the Minds Panel show. I'd like to thank you, eijah, for accepting our invitation for this interview. It's always a pleasure to have you on the panel, and hopefully we'll get to do this again in the near future. Maybe when I don't know, 3.4 comes out, or maybe 4.0, whenever a big feature comes out. So once again, thank you for everyone present in the panel tonight, Kevin, GovSpiders, and eijah. And I'd like to thank every listener tonight that listened to the live broadcast. So that's it. Thank you for watching, listening.
Great. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time being on here. And if you want to be, if you guys want to be part of the Clear Skies beta, the 3 or 4 of you, let me know and just shoot me off an email. That's eijah@demonsaw.com. That's eijah@demonsaw.com. Or you can reach me at demon_saw on Twitter. But if you have a company or a private business or just an entrepreneur and you want to be part of the beta, we will be looking for beta testers very, very soon for Clear Skies. So if that's of interest to you, we'd love to have you. It'll be a lot of fun, and I appreciate your time. So thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, thanks, everyone.